All right. What's up, everybody? Jared at Lethal Performance here. I'm at Lethal Performance headquarters in Wellington, Florida, and I'll be doing basically an overview of our 2018 Mustang GT project car, Project Goldmember. We've done a couple of these in the past. I've done them, I believe, on Facebook, live videos, but it's my first time doing a YouTube live, so hopefully everyone enjoys the video. Pretty much just an overview and walk around of our 2018 Mustang GT, talking about the car, its modifications, and its progress from the beginning to where it is now. So, this car, if you have not seen, recently went 8. It was my first 8-second pass ever in a car in general, and so definitely a big accomplishment for myself. I'm not a real race car driver or anything like that, and am kind of scared of cars with lots of power, but my team and friends and supporters pushed me to go ahead and do it. So I rocked out and I went 897 at 151 miles an hour and change. So basically, here's the car. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, check it out. This is our 2018 Mustang GT. It's a 10-speed auto car with a performance package on it, and we do rock the Magna Ride suspension on the car. So it's an adjustable electronic suspension. So this is factory shocks and struts on this vehicle. And as you can see here, we've got our gold banner on the side to go with our gold theme, and the gold skull and crossbones definitely sticks out like a yellow submarine. For sure, gets a lot of looks wherever we go. All right, take you a walk around. It's a little dirty. I haven't cleaned it up since the track, but as mentioned, is a performance pack car. So, yellow submarine in the house. That's right. All right, so where do we start with the car? It's definitely come a long ways. So pretty much there's a lot to go over. I'm going to start out pretty much where we're at now and go from there. So the heart actually of this car, it's a 5-liter Gen 3 engine in here, which uses the direct injection and port injection. And again, it uses the 10-speed automatic transmission using the Magna Ride suspension. All right, and I'm going to pop the hood open here, show you guys. Oh, sorry about that. All right, check it out. Okay, this is basically the heart of it right here. That's where we make the power from. That is an actual pre-production Gen 5 3-liter supercharger system from Whipple Superchargers. They are available now. The production units actually have a little more rounded case to it, but this thing is massive. And that's what pumps the air into this vehicle to make the power, okay? We are currently running this supercharger system with their 132 millimeter throttle body, as well as their Cobra Jet style intake. It's 150 millimeter MAF air housing, as well as the high flow velocity filter, and it does neck down to our 132 millimeter throttle body here. Whipple does offer a 150 millimeter throttle body. However, we're still running the 132, and obviously it's working for us. So on top of that, as far as our pulley combination goes, we're running a 3.5-inch upper pulley and the 20% lower balancer from ATI, along with the Whipple 10-rib belt system. The reason for going with the 10-rib belt system is that the pretty much on the 6-rib setup, I believe we're tapped out at the 3.625 pulley combo. Really, more than that, you're going to start seeing some belt slip and really not benefit from going smaller in pulley size, because the belt will be slipping and you're not making the boost. So we went to the 10-rib setup, and now we can run more boost with less chance of belt slip and boost loss. All right. For fueling this setup, we were running the Injector Dynamics ID 1300 injectors. We run E85 on this car, so we definitely need more fuel volume to support the amount of power that we used to make on gasoline. It requires about 30% more fuel volume to support the same amount of power that you did with gasoline. Also, as far as fueling goes, we're running a Lethal Performance triple pump return style fuel system utilizing Walbro's 465 liter per hour pumps, 3 of them, and it's a dual regulated setup as well. Again, it converts it from the returnless style system that the factory uses and goes return style. The dual regulators work like this. We've got our 3 pumps in the tank there. They're an in-tank setup that uses our fuel hat and wiring harness. They key on when you turn the power on. The pumps run full time. That basically flows to this regulator right here, the passenger side regulator. That regulator is providing a static 70 psi to the factory high pressure fuel pump right here. Okay, so 70 psi we will always see here, and that's going to maintain that pressure at all times. The return from this fuel pump regulator, fuel pressure regulator, goes to the fuel rails on the Whipple Supercharger, which actually crosses over in the rear, comes back around this side, and then goes to this regulator. Now this regulator right here, the number 2 regulator, the driver's side one, Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator, will actually regulates the fuel pressure in the fuel rails for the port injection. Okay, so you got 2 things going on here, direct injection on that side and the port injection over here. The excess fuel then returns to the fuel tank from the bottom of this regulator, and that's how it goes. You set your fuel pressure with these 2 regulators. Only the driver's side runs off of is boost reference. The other side is just open to atmosphere. Again, we're running a static 70 psi on that regulator, and I believe on this one for the injectors we're running a 55 psi base pressure. Okay, so we've got the fueling out of the way. Next thing I notice on the outside here, as far as cosmetic stuff goes, this is the Cervini's cowl hood for the 2018 and up Mustang GT. It was pre-painted to match our black finish on our car. It fits, it looks awesome, the paint match is perfect. Cervini's does a wonderful job. Also, on the exterior here, we'll go over the wheel and tire setup that we're running. I've got a set of the Raystar Recluse wheels, which actually, if you haven't checked out, they are actually on sale pretty much all month long right now. Lethal Performance, you can save a lot of money on any Raystar wheel setup that we have. These are the Recluse. These are an 18x5 front, and I'm running a 185/50/18 radial from M&H as my front runner. On the rear here, these are 17 by 10.5 inch wheels, and I'm running the Mickey Thompson 305/45 ET Street R's. So previous to this, go ahead. It's Santa. Hey, wave hi to Santa. Hey, he was here last time making lots of noise. Anyways, Santa's in town. So before running the ET Street R's, I actually ran some slicks on this car when it was making less power, and it was a 2810 by 17-inch Hoosier slick that I was running on it. Yes, those Hoosiers do hook up a lot. However, going down the track, it was a little sketchy. Definitely a lot of sway on it. These tires on the launch, this car launches perfect. Dips out, goes down the track straight the entire time. There's no floating, no nothing on it, all right? So that's another one of our exterior setups on here. And lastly, up front, we'll take a look at the Lethal Performance 2018 Mustang Grill Delete. We're running the upper and lower grill deletes on here. The grills are anodized. We have a mesh option, which is anodized billet in there, and that lays real nice and looks really good. So as far as exterior mods, that's pretty much it for it, all right? Talk about the exhaust now. So we're making all this power. We want to make sure that the exhaust is flowing good. There's no restriction on it. So with that said, we are running a set of the Cook's Custom headers. Those are a 1 7/8 inch header by 3 inch collector, and it goes to our off-road leads. So before the last time out the track, I was running the back half of the system, which was a Lethal Performance H-pipe resonator delete with the factory axle pipes, and then for our axle back, we're running the Lethal Performance Race Series axle back car. And I am not running any back half of the system right now. Pretty much just turn downs from the off-road legs that come off the headers there. So that's our exhaust setup on there. Let's talk a little bit about the suspension on this car. This car runs the famous BMR bread and butter package, brought to you here by Lethal Performance and our good friend Kelly, who's over at BMR. We pieced that kit together it is, a lot of it is polyurethane. So we're not using like solid stuff like our steak and potatoes package. But that kit consists of we've got, let me see here, it's going to be hard to take a look at it. But we've got the cradle lockouts. We've got some vertical links on there. We're also running the BMR drag springs, front and rear. And those are specific to this car because this car, again, is Magna-Ride. We are using the factory shocks and struts. So there's a specific setup of springs that we use for the Magna-Ride cars than we do on the non-Magna-Ride cars. So pretty much full BMR rear suspension, which also includes our Lethal Performance Extreme Diff Bolt Upgrade Kit. That replaces the bolts that go from your IRS cradle to the frame and does a through bolt design with a much higher quality and stronger bolt. And on top of that, the other piece from BMR that we're running is their drive shaft loop on here. Going to the driveline stuff, we have the DSS carbon fiber drive shaft. I believe it's a 3.375 inch drive shaft, as well as their new X6 2,000 horsepower axles. We've been running those since day one. Actually, I believe the second time I was at the track ever, and I put a set of drag radials on this car, my second launch or whatever, in between the 1 and 2 shift, snapped the drive shaft axle completely, right there. So we called up DSS. We told them we want the best, like we've been using their stuff for many years. Frank sent us down a set of their axles and the drive shaft, and we have had no problem since then. So the car has been aged, the car has been launched, beat on a lot of times at the track, and the DSS stuff has been holding up really good for us. All right, so we've got the drive shaft, the axles out of the way. Let me think. We've got the power there. All right. So let's take a look inside. As far as some additional cooling goes for the supercharger, we used to run the Whipple. Whipple sends their kits, their stage 1 and stage 2 kits. Normally that 150 millimeter intake on it. It has their standard intake with airbox, as well as there would be a reservoir here mounted down in the fender well for the intercooler system. The supercharger heat exchanger, the intercooler that's under here, through the heat exchanger and pumped back in, it cools the fluid that goes in there. So the cooler the temps are we see there, the more dense air we see, the more power the car is going to make, and the less timing that's going to be pulled from the vehicle. So if we keep those temps down and keep it cool, it's not going to pull. It is really, really, really hot down here in Florida right now. Pretty much the same conditions that I went 8s in with this car. We're in the mid-90s. It's hot. Not really a lot of humidity, just a lot of heat. So what had happened was, I had my phone out in the sun while talking to you guys, and I got that emergency thing saying that my phone was too hot, so it shut it off. So we're back again. And where I was talking about the intercooler system on the Whipple setup here. Although this setup from Whipple is very efficient on their Gen 5 3-liter supercharger kit because of the 3-core intercooler setup and the way it's designed, where the air comes up from the rotors, passes through the the intercooler, then back down through the manifold. We actually have improved on that for this car to go really quick and installed a PNR Ice Tank. The PNR Ice Tank is made by Paul up in New Jersey. Great guy we've been dealing with for many years now. Makes really nice products. And the trunk mount tank, I'll show you in just a second, makes really nice products. And the trunk mount tank, I'll show you in just a second, is at the back of the car here. Before, we were not running this. So we installed the Stage 4 PNR Ice Tank. And the Stage 4 basically includes, that is their 7-gallon ice tank, their EMP Stewart pump. We've got 16 AN feed fitting on it, a 12 AN return. Now what this does is not only can this hold water in here and increases the capacity of the intercooler system, which is pumped up front with the EMP pump to the intercooler, this also, you can put ice in here. So what you do at the drag strip is basically unscrew that cap over there and pour ice into it after you've drained the coolant that's in there out of there. And then you'll be flowing ice water through the intercooler system, which will, again, keep the IAT temperatures down, the ACT temperatures, which are after cooler temperatures, and keep it down to prevent any timing from being pulled. And again, the more dense, the colder the air that enters the engine creates more power. The higher that those temperatures go up, you have obviously suffer from heat soak, but also it pulls timing in the tune if it reaches 150 degrees. So previous to installing this tank using just the Whipple intercooler system that we had on here, we saw ACT temperatures on one of my runs of going 904 to 152 and change. We saw 130 degrees, okay? And that's at the end of the track, which is you know, it's not cool. It's not super hot, but it's not cool, and we wanted to improve on that. So what we did was install this PNR setup here, and we wanted to try it at the track a few different ways. First off, we want to try just water in there. So we get a fair comparison of what happens when you increase capacity in the intercooler system. So basically when we installed this on here and we made a run at the track, and I believe I went 899, 90 or an 899 or 898 with it, I believe we saw the highest temperatures that we saw were 108 degrees. So that's about a 22 degree difference between not having this set up in here, okay? My next run, which was the best run that I had, that 897 at 151 and change, was done with 20 pounds of ice in this tank. The ice was put in right before I went to the burnout box. I went down the track, went my 897, came back around. We popped this open and put my hand in there, and the water was still cold, which is great. It shows how efficient the system is when you add ice into it and keeps those ACT temperatures down, making more power, less chance of timing being pulled from it. All right, so we're talking about the cooling. We talked about the supercharger on here, the suspension setup. I will be straight up with you guys. I've always talked about not removing weight from the cars. I want to do it in full street trim. However, it is really hot down here. I was so close to my 8-second pass the last time out at the track. I did decide to pull a little bit of weight out of it. So I'll show you right here real quick. I pulled the passenger seat out. This is a performance package car, so it's got the nice leather seats in here with the heating and cooling on them and stuff. And then I pulled off the rear seat out of the car. Those are really the only weight mods besides the catback that are off of this car. So not a huge difference, but and it may or may have helped me achieve that 8-second pass. But there it is. That's a deal. So lastly, all right. Lastly and most important, all this stuff together, the supercharger, the fuel system, the cooling, the suspension, the transmission. Oh, transmission, I almost forgot about that. Almost forgot about the transmission, okay? The transmission we're running on here is a 10R80 transmission, a factory transmission. What we did was we upgraded the clutch and steel friction kit in there from the factory ones to the McLeod racing ones, which we offer here. It's an upgraded clutch kit. So where we saw the clutches actually starting to burn up and slip on our previous runs at the track in the low 9s, we upgraded that so that we would not have that problem. And actually at the track, it held up phenomenal. From our data logs, there was no loss. You know, we didn't see the transmission slipping at all like we did previously. The other thing that we did here was a Circle D converter for forced induction cars. They offer 2 different versions. One, which is in this car for forced induction, sets the stall speed about 3,800 RPMs. And they actually just released, which we list on our site, for the NA cars. So it's got a little bit higher of a stall, I believe closer to about 4,000 RPMs. I was able to, we're not using a 2-step on here. I'm not using a trans brake setup, a trans brake tune, or anything like that. If you watch the video of my 8-second run, you'll see that I basically, I foot brake it. I basically do my burnout, go up to the line, I get all set up, my buddy Alex lines me up, and I hold the brake down as hard as possible. I use my right foot on the throttle, and I go up as high as I can RPM-wise without the car creeping on me. I believe on that 897 pass, I was close to the stall speed of about 3,800 RPMs on the foot brake there. So you can launch these cars at a higher RPM with that torque converter in there and get a really good 60-foot. My 60-foot on this car, I believe, is the best 60-foot out of any MagnaRide S550 out there. Again, using the factory MagnaRide shocks and struts on the car. I went a 132 60-foot. If you've done better, post it up. I'd like to hear about it. But as you can tell from the video, and the car is working out great for us. You know, the times that we got at the track are 60-foot or quarter mile. The car works for us, and it's really not that extensive of a build. Some might ask, What about the motor? Have we done anything to the motor on this car? The only thing done on the motor to this car, it's again a factory engine, 2018 Gen 3 5-liter Mustang engine. The only thing we did was upgrade our oil pump gears and our crank sprocket to the ones that Boundary Engineering makes. We've never done that before on any of our previous cars, which were manuals, and ran forced induction on those well, and they were all shifted really hard, power shifted, revved high. We never had an issue. However, we just decided, listen, with the cost of the oil pump gears and the crank sprocket now being at $298 shipped, you can't beat it. It's a good insurance. You know, there's no reason to skimp out on it, risk a motor for not spending $300 plus the install price on it. We've got some stronger pieces in there now, and rest assured at the track we have a better feeling that we're not going to lose oil pump pressure or snap with that crank sprocket and have everything go out of whack. So those are the only engine mods that are on here: crank sprocket and oil pump gear from Boundary. That should cover engine, transmission, suspension, wheels, tires, body and styling, cooling. The last thing that I was going to mention that we have on this car, again, which is the most important piece of everything, when you're putting the puzzle together, it comes down to one thing, and it comes down to the tuning. So we are custom tuned. This car is custom tuned by our good friends over at Lund Racing. John Sr., John Jr., and the rest of the crew do a phenomenal job. We've been tuned by Lund Racing. All of the Lethal Project cars since 2009 have been tuned by Lund Racing, and they continue to tune our cars for us. So we work closely with them on this car. In fact, they have never been here in person tuning this car in Florida. These tunes are all done remotely, okay? That means that they're in Pennsylvania, we're in Florida. We put this car on the dyno over at Power by the Hour Performance. They load their tune onto the car. We get some data from them through the N gauge that we're using, and then we email it to them. They review that data log, make sure that everything looks good. If fueling looks good, spark looks good, there's no problems with the car, they put the heat on it, all right? They send the special sauce in the tune. So that's exactly what John Jr. did for this car. Very experienced guys there. Not only, you know, every time they have a car that works out better, runs quicker for them, they update these tunes, you know, to the newest shift points, to the newest tricks, and, you know, that they have to make these cars go quicker and run better. So, as an example, when I go to the track with this car and I run down the track, all I do is I tap on that N gauge device right after my burnout before I do my launch. At the end of the track, I tap on it again. That shuts the data log down. Then I pull the SD card out and I email it right over to John Jr. He'll take a look at it. If he sees something funky going on, he makes a change. If he sees something he can improve on, he makes a change. In our case, there weren't many changes made to this car the last time out at the track. The only thing I believe that he might have changed was the shift points on a few of the gears, just to lower it down a little bit, get us through the traps without going into seventh gear, and obviously it worked for us. So that's it. Remote tuning is, you know, it works. For a lot of guys out there who think you got to have this car on the dyno and the tuner needs to be in there in person to do it, that is not the case anymore. It is, you know, email tuning as well as remote tuning, and data logging is all the difference here, okay? So you guys can get your Lund Racing custom tuning through us, and in fact, this week, on the 4th of July, which they rarely run a sale, we have $50 off of any Lund Racing custom tune and device. We also offer free second-day air shipping on all devices here at Lethal Performance. So you guys want to pick up a Lund Racing custom tune device, if you're just a stock car, you want to run E85, you want to put some bolt-ons on it, you want to run a supercharger, Lund Racing, Lethal Performance, that's how we do it, right here. So with that said as well, before I wrap it up here, it is going to be the 4th of July weekend coming up here this week. I wish everyone a happy 4th of July out there. Everyone be safe. I know everyone likes to have a good time and party and, you know, spend time on the water, on their boats and stuff like that. Everyone just be safe out there, be mindful of others, and enjoy your 4th of July. We will be having a sale here at Lethal Performance with a ton of different brands as well as a site-wide coupon code going on from the 4th through the 8th of July. So make sure to check our website, lethalperformance.com, our Facebook page, which is Team Lethal, or Lethal Performance Inc., or our Instagram page, which is Team Lethal, for all details on the sale that we'll be having. And you guys, as always, you have any questions, give a call over here, 561-753-8105, and we'll do our best to help you out. Whether you're going just a mild bolt-on build or you want to go all out and build a car like this, we will be more than happy to assist you, and we've got the experience to do so. All right? So, hey, guys, Team Lethal fans all around the world, thank you for watching my live YouTube video, the first of many, and we're going to keep on bringing you the content and doing big things in 2019. Thanks a lot, guys, for everything. End this thing.